Welcome to the Cruising is Life podcast. Whether you're a seasoned cruiser or just starting out, we have something for everyone. So sit back, relax, and get ready to set sail with us on the Cruising is Life podcast.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Cruising is Life podcast. How's it going, everybody? Happy Wednesday for those who are listening live, and happy whatever day of the week it is for those of you who are listening somewhere else. But we're joined here with Justin, as always, our co-host here on the podcast. We've got a very exciting one. It's the Project Discovery from Royal Caribbean. That's a lot of uncertainty. It's just like this mysterious new project for them.
Yes, it is. Like you said, they haven't really announced anything except for that's like kind of the name of the project, and we kind of have an idea of the direction they're going with it, very vaguely. So it's going to be exciting.
Exactly, for sure. And did you want to say something before we start?
Yes. I got to be a little vague with it, so forgive me, but I just want to give a shout out to my friend who is overseas right now in the Air Force protecting our country. He watches the podcast.
Love that.
So to him and everyone else that he's with right now overseas, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thank you for your service and allowing us to be able to do what we're doing right now and to be able to cruise. So I know you're watching it. I don't know if you're watching it right now. I don't know what time it is over there. But eventually when you watch this, I just want to thank you and all your people out there for your service.
Yes, thank you for your service, guys. All right.
Let's get into it.
Jump right in. So, like we mentioned, there's a lot of uncertainty with this one. And, you know, there's literally no information on this. So a lot of this is going to be completely off the top of our heads and just pure speculation on this brand new project. So none of what we say is fact. This is more just guessing and just going off of just the fact that the only thing they've really told us so far is that it's going to be smaller.
Yes. Like you said, that's the only thing we really know. I think their goal is to get these ships to fit into smaller ports, maybe specifically home ports at least, Tampa, maybe not Jacksonville, but like Baltimore, and then also be able to get into some of these smaller, ports that are around the world. So I think that's kind of the direction that they're going in.
Right, exactly. That's their biggest thing, is that I think a lot of their higher status cruisers are the ones requesting this too. I think a lot of the, Pinnacle and just Diamond Plus, those types of members with Royal Caribbean are really the ones that are pushing for, hey, we don't want these really, really big ships. Not that they don't want the Icon class, but we've got plenty of 200,000 ton ships. Like, we want something that's a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate feeling, classic, original vibes of cruising. And like you said, just home ports that we don't get and we just cannot get into with some of these cruise ships.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, with the higher tier status people, as much as these big ships are great and they have so much to offer, and it really seems like, with the Icon class, they've been going towards very family oriented vacation styles. There are a lot of people out there that want these smaller ships, not only because they can go to different kind of ports that some of these bigger ships can't go into, but I think there's something with those older ships that they like the connectivity with the crew, and there's not that many people on board. So I think that's kind of where this is coming from, because I mean, as you've seen in the last I guess 20 years, the ships have just gotten bigger and bigger. So I think people
blame Royal for that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They really spearheaded that, and the other cruise lines have really followed suit. But yeah, it'll be nice to get a smaller class.
For sure. And again, like ports like Tampa, Baltimore, even Jacksonville. Jacksonville's getting a new ship soon. For those who don't know, they are not a new ship, but they're getting the Norwegian Gem. So, something that size. And so over or under 100,000 tons, what do you think?
I think it's going to be over 100,000. I think once you get under that, you're kind of restricted with what you can do.
Too small.
But I think I think it's just going to be like right over 100,000.
Yeah.
Like just maybe between 100 and 110, maybe 115.
Yeah, I think so too. I think gone are the days that a major cruise line puts out anything below 100,000. That's just not going to happen anymore. I think like you said, about 110 to 115. I think something that's comparable to the Scarlet Lady, like the Scarlet Virgin Voyages, those ships. I think that's what we're looking at size wise. I don't think they're going to be as tall. They're probably going to be a little bit longer. I think we're going to be looking at, something around that tonnage, but probably maybe 1,000, maybe 1,100 feet long, which is, not something that we see with something that small. But the length is what they're going to kind of push here, and that's going to allow them into smaller and just places like that have bridges, like Tampa and Baltimore, places like that. There's places like that all over the world too, but I think those are like the first ones that come to mind. Of course, Tampa especially.
Right. Yeah, and I think like some people might hear 100,000 and think of ships like the old Carnival Destiny, that kind of class, and think, oh, like that's really not even that big. But when you look at Scarlet Lady, I know it's got the height, so it's a little bit of an issue there, but that ship is very big. For a ship, what is her tonnage? I got to be honest, I don't know. What is it, 100?
100, it's got to be like 110, 115. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Right, but that you could do a lot with a ship
absolutely.
In that weight range. There's a lot of, like I said, you look at ships like the Carnival Destiny that were just over 100,000, and you're like, oh, that was like the older days of cruising. There wasn't that much to do, like in terms of activities and stuff. But with the way things are now, and if you configure the ship in that weight range to accommodate what you do, you could do a lot and have a really nice ship.
Right, exactly. I think Virgin Voyages is the prime example of that. Those ships are packed with a lot of stuff to do. Like there's plenty to do on board, and there seems to be a lot of space too.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They did a very good job. And for the company's first ship, they did a really good job.
Honestly, for, whoever, Richard Branson or whoever it was that kind of spearheaded the whole Virgin Voyages concept, like, you did a really good job. Timing couldn't have been worse with COVID, but right. Whoever was behind the full-on project of Virgin Voyages, like, they did a fantastic job, especially starting from scratch. Like, right. Not many startup cruise lines, Margaritaville at Sea being like, a prime example. Even Carnival didn't build a ship from scratch for their very first one. For them to start from scratch and say, all right, we're building new. We're not purchasing an old ship. We're not purchasing a fantasy class or whatever it is and converting it. We're doing what we want with the ship that we're making for ourselves. Right. I think so. Yeah. Virgin Voyages did a fantastic job, but their ships are a prime example of that. You can really do a lot with 100,000 tons. You don't have to have these big mega ships to have some of the things on board.
Right. And you're obviously not going to see, a 6 water slide water park like Icon's got, or is it maybe a zip line going across? But, with the way things are going now, and, you can, with Virgin, the ships are kind of narrow. I mean, they're not like super wide, but if you take a ship and maybe make it like shorter, or it might look weird, but you get the idea. There's a lot you can do with a ship at 100,000 or at 110,000 that can still fit into these ports, and it can still be something that people get really excited about. And it's not going to be like building like a Vision class ship. It could be something really exciting. Right,
exactly. And speaking of the Vision, that's exactly what they're trying to do with these ships, is that the Vision class, believe it or not, are coming up 25, maybe 30 years old here pretty soon over the next 5 years. And that's when they're trying to roll out these Project Discovery ships, is that, over the next, 5 years, I mean, those ships are going to have to go, and they're already looking to replace those ships. And it's not just the Vision class, it's the Radiance class too. Like those ships are built for the traditional cruiser and for traditional cruising, because that's what it was like back then in the early 2000s, late 1990s. And these ships are known now, and that's all they do now, because that's all they have to offer now, is these longer exotic itineraries, whether it's Mediterranean, Greek Isles, Asia, Alaska. They usually put 2 Radiance class up in Alaska.
Right. And like you said, the Project Discovery is a direct replacement, at least for the Vision class. I don't know if they'll get rid of the Vision and the Radiance class at the same time.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a direct replacement for the Vision class. I don't think they'll. Obviously, we don't know how many they're going to build, how big they're going to be, but I think what you're going to see is, especially in Tampa, you know, the Royal Caribbean ships we have sailing out here literally at this moment is Radiance of the Seas and Enchantment of the Seas, which are the two smallest classes of ships in the fleet. So what you're going to see, at least in my opinion, is as they phase, you know, maybe the first Discovery class will come out, and then maybe they'll get rid of Vision, then the second one will come out and they'll get rid of Grandeur, and that's how they'll do it. And you'll see, you know, these ships I don't think are going to start their, you know, maiden seasons in like Miami. And
No.
they might, you know, they might build like 6 of them and, you know, they just put them everywhere. But initially, I think these ships are going to go to places like Tampa, like Baltimore, like New Orleans, you know, places like that you don't normally see a new ship go to.
Right, exactly. I think so too. I don't think Miami is going to be the first destination for some of these places or some of these ships. Maybe it is, but they're not going to be on your traditional. It's not going to be replacing the Oasis or the Icon on these 7-night itineraries. It's going to, if anything, it's going to replace maybe like the Explorer on
I was thinking that.
like the 9 nights, the 9 and 10 night itineraries. Like that's what it's going to do. These ships are probably going to be built to do longer itineraries.
Right. This trend that the cruise, or at least Royal Caribbean's been doing, you're not going to see that with this class. I guess they changed it up a little bit with Utopia, who's coming to do the 3 and 4s right off the bat. So I don't know if you'll see that exactly, but you're going to see some of these unique itineraries get replaced and some of these unique home ports get replaced.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, they're going to be completely different. Like if Icon and Utopia are the ones that are exciting to you, these may not be, they're not going to be, you know, as empty as the new ships, or like as the older ships, I mean, but they're not going to have, you know, they're not going to have the Category 6 water park. They're not going to have the Aquadome. They're not going to have the Aqua Theater or all that type of thing. But again, it's the 2020s. Like you can pack a lot onto a ship these days. So this definitely isn't going to be something to replace the Icon or to follow up the Icon. This is something to modernize their fleet as they start expanding.
Exactly. That like you said, that's exactly what these ships are going to be. It's to phase out the older ships and kind of, obviously these wouldn't be like the new older ships, but these are going to be the new smaller class of ships that Royal Caribbean's going to have. Right. And don't put it past Royal Caribbean to find very unique things to put on these ships that we might not see on a ship right now. What can that be? Obviously we don't know, but I would not put it past them to do something very cool and very unique with these ships to kind of, you know, get that excitement out there. Be like, hey, we have a brand new ship and it's coming to Tampa, you know, like people are going to be like, oh, like, okay, Tampa, like it can't be that exciting, but I think they're going to do something pretty cool with these ships.
Yeah, I think so too. And with the whole discovery aspect of it, and, you know, that they're looking to do more unique and exotic destinations, things like that, I think maybe we could see the return of the North Star from the Quantum class.
That would be unique. That would be a very cool thing to see on a smaller ship, especially if it goes to these unique destinations, to have that kind of aerial view from the ports. That'd be really cool.
That's a big selling point for the Quantum class whenever they're doing some of these more exotic ones, because I think they tried a little bit with the Quantum class to do what they're getting ready to do with Project Discovery, where they're sending them to more exotic locations. I don't think Asia is necessarily where they're going to put them, but, you know, the Northern European cruises, like they've been doing with Anthem, the Alaska, they now have 2 Quantum class on Alaska, things like that. So
yeah, absolutely.
I honestly think I could see it, maybe a modernized version or just like a newer version of like some sort of observation point. Maybe we do get the Aquadome and we get that, or at least that lookout portion of it.
Right. Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be very unique to see what they do with this ship. You know, just to have a smaller ship that can go maybe not anywhere, but pretty much anywhere. You know, I'm very excited for it. And it'll be cool to see a brand new ship. And like I keep bringing up Tampa, I live here, so it's kind of, you know, I'm kind of biased about it.
Right.
But it would be so cool to see a brand new Royal Caribbean ship sail from here on her like maiden voyage, like the inaugural season.
Oh, it'd
like,
be a big deal.
Right. Like, do I love going down to Miami and Fort Lauderdale and seeing Wonder come in and Icon come in? Yeah, it's crazy. But it'll be really nice to have a brand new ship sailing from Tampa. I have nothing wrong with Radiance and Enchantment. It's cool for YouTube purposes, but it'll be really awesome to see a brand new ship sail from here.
Yeah, exactly. It's Tampa. I don't know the last time Tampa has had a brand new ship come out and go straight to Tampa. I don't think it's happened.
I don't think it's ever happened.
I'm not including Margaritaville at Sea Islander in this, but
yeah.
I genuinely don't know the last time there's been a new ship that went straight to Tampa.
Right. So it'll be a big deal in that sense.
Oh, for sure. And even if it is doing some of the Caribbean itineraries, like, it's going to be more focused towards the longer ones that are going into these other ports, that you don't normally get, like St. Kitts, Antigua, Grenada, like
Barbados, right?
Exactly. I think their biggest focus here is the exotic itineraries.
Yeah.
And, again, Icon cannot fit everywhere. It's a monster.
That's for sure.
Icon,
it's huge.
Icon in a nutshell is just an absolute monster. And I think people know that. And I think there's a big crowd in Royal Caribbean's, market that doesn't want something that big. Also, I see a bunch of chats here, but I see Rick is saying hello from the Icon of the Seas.
Lucky you, Rick. Lucky you.
Love it. I will be there in about a week and a half. I hope you're having a great cruise. And that was just something that stood out. So I'm not ignoring everybody else in the chat here. I'm just one that stood out to me. But yeah, I think I hope that they don't do something like Norwegian did. I think Norwegian, that's what they tried to do with the Prima class, is go smaller. But they just didn't do it right.
Luckily, I have enough faith in Royal Caribbean to not make that mistake. They seem to be pretty smart with how they do things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'll carry you. I mean, I know they've been going bigger ever since, they started. So it's a lot easier to do stuff, in a better way. But they're going to do it the right way. I have a lot of faith in them.
Right, exactly. And the problem with the Prima class is that they took everything from the 167,000 ton Norwegian Encore and crammed it onto the 140,000 ton Norwegian Prima. It just...
Right. It doesn't work.
The racetrack isn't as popular as it once was. I personally, I love it. I loved the racetrack that I did on the Bliss, but that takes up a lot of deck space. It really does.
Right. And the Encore, that class was designed to hold that, specifically with the size. And I know obviously Prima was too, but it's just too big of an activity to have on a smaller ship. That size is just not doable for something like that.
Right. What they did with the Prima is that they made it bigger. It's a bigger track than the Encore, but they built it up and circled the funnel rather than expanding wider. Which in that sense, it was a good idea, but it's a go-kart track. I mean, even pre-Norwegian Joy days, it was they're not going to do a go-kart track on a ship. That takes up way too much deck space. Sure does. And it does.
It really does.
Now seeing it in practice, in real life, it does.
Yep. Yeah, it's not ideal to be on a cruise ship. Is it cool and unique and probably fun to do? Absolutely. Just maybe not super practical.
Right, exactly. And if you see the top-down views of the Prima, there's enough room for 30 lounge chairs on the pool deck.
If that.
And this isn't to hate on Norwegian. This isn't to hate on the Prima. I'm just pointing out, certain things that I've noticed and a lot of complaints that I've seen about Prima is the lack of deck space because they've crammed so much on the bigger ships into the smaller ship. Whereas I think that was the biggest downfall of the Prima class, and I know that's why we're also getting, Aqua and Prima 4 are going to be bigger, and also Prima 5 and 6 are going to be even bigger than that. So I know they're making those changes, and I think probably Prima 5 and 6 are probably going to be the best ones. But I guess that's essentially what they tried to do, though, is that they were trying to not only make a smaller ship, give it more traditional feel, It's still not quite a mega ship, but it's still a pretty good size, a medium-sized ship, about 140,000 tons now. But yeah, they just didn't quite execute properly on that. But I feel like Royal Caribbean's going to be a lot better, and probably see the reaction that they got from the Prima and Norwegian got, and know kind of what to do now, and kind of follow up on that and make it a little bit better.
Right. So going back to the actual Project Discovery, do we think, or at least in your opinion, do you think they're going to order maybe not 6 like NCL did, but do you think they're going to order like a bunch of them, or do you think they're going to order maybe 2 to start or 3 to start like they did with Icon?
I say 4. 4 seems to be my lucky number here with this one. I think there's 4 Vision class left to my knowledge, and there's also 4 Radiance class to my knowledge. I don't think we're going to need 8, but I think 4 is kind of the magic number. I think that would be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course, if it's super successful, which I don't know why it wouldn't, then they can always order 2 more or however many more they want to do.
Right.
But I think you're right. I think they're going to order, 4. That way they can, kind of place them in different areas and
right. I think with this type of project, 4 is a good sweet spot. 2 isn't really enough to get a true grasp on their success, but 6 is too much. I think if the project is super successful, then 5 and 6 are definitely in the question here.
Right.
But my cat's jumping all over me now.
You're good. And then off topic for just a second, not really off topic, but just a thought. I would really love for them to build a 4th Freedom class ship. They've never really gone back and I know they don't really need to. Like they've got 4 Vision, 4 Radiance, Voyager. But it'd be kind of cool to see them go back and add a ship to an older class, like a Voyager or Freedom class, just add one just to have the capacity, that'd be kind of cool.
Have I ever told you that was actually a thing?
No.
So, fun fact, Justin, you're about to learn about this for the first time, apparently. So, following the completion of Allure of the Seas, Royal Caribbean was originally in talks of a 4th Freedom class to follow the Allure with Meyer Turku. And
they totally should have.
They came very close to the deal. I think they had everything in the works, and when it came to the point where they were going to order the ship, they decided, actually, scratch that. We're going to bring out Project Sunshine instead, which ended up being the Quantum class. So instead of Freedom 4, which would have been fantastic, I love that class is one of my favorite classes of ships. To me, Freedom of the Seas is the perfect size. It's not too big. It's not too small. There's plenty of stuff to do on it. But yeah, apparently Freedom 4 was originally supposed to happen, but we got the Quantum class instead, which I think ended up being probably the better thing to do. But could you imagine a modern Freedom class, a built today?
Right. That'd be so nice if they needed a, not that we're in that kind of situation, but if the economy or the, whatever kind of took a turn, how it did in, what was it, 2008, 2009, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool for them to be we're going to hold off building new ships, but, or not new ships, but we're going to hold off, putting the money into research and development onto a new class and just add a 6th Voyager class or a 4th Freedom class. I don't think anyone would be opposed to it. Obviously stick with the new design or the new class, the Discovery class, but also throw in another Freedom class in there too. Why not, right? I think people would love that.
I would be the first one to sign up for that 4th Freedom class. I don't care where it is. If you give me a 4th Freedom class, Royal Caribbean, I hope you're listening. If you give me a 4th Freedom class, I will be on it for the first 10 sailings. I love that class.
Just the way it is.
I know I love the Oasis class and everything, but the Freedom class for me is what got me started. I love the Freedom class.
Yeah, and I'm sure I know you said there was already plans for it, but I'm sure it comes up in conversation a lot, but I think they're just so focused on building new classes of ship now, just because that's kind of what people like. But it would be nice, just, again, it was a random thought, but it'd be cool to see them come out, be hey, in the middle of us building the Discovery class, we're just going to throw in another Voyager or another Freedom class.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Again, they're,
It
with
just
Project
boosts capacity.
Oh, it does. And with
It'd
Project
be
Discovery,
perfect.
they're trying to go smaller. I mean, again, that's a perfect size ship. It can go a
Mhm.
lot of places now, especially with a lot of places expanding for, um,
Icon, I
with
guess
Icon and
Oasis back in
Oasis
the
class.
day.
But like
Right.
Independence, they love Independence up in Northern Europe, and it does those exotic
Hmm.
cruises. The Freedom class would do really good up in Alaska.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, they would. Oh, that would be amazing.
a Freedom class. I know they have the Quantum class up there, but like if they replace, like the Serenade or whatever it is up in Alaska with a Freedom class, like it would do really well.
It would. That would be a perfect ship to
Hmm.
have up there. Like it
Exactly.
just, like you said, that class is just perfect.
Everything about it. It's
Yeah.
just, again, not there's so many vantage points. There's so many good places. There's such a connection with the ocean on the Freedom class and the Voyager
Hmm.
class, of course, because
Right.
all the Freedom is just a stretched Voyager.
Right.
But like there's such a connection with the ocean. You can go down to deck 4, walk out under the lifeboats. You have the overhang. You have the bow. You have the back of the area,
Hmm.
or back of the ship that you can actually see out of too. Then you got
Right.
the whole pool deck. The pool deck itself has floor to ceiling windows. You can see straight out like normal. Then you got the deck above it with the jogging track. You can see out and everything. And it goes all the way back and around. Like
And you have the whatever they call it, I call it like the Viking Crown Lounge, but whatever they call it,
yeah,
that
that too.
above, like right above there, like
That
that would be such a nice area to just sit and
mhm.
relax.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, we're going. I mean, for those who don't know, we're going on the Liberty of the Seas here. I've got Icon in about a week and a half. Don't get me started on how excited I am for that. But I'm also excited for the Liberty because, again, I love the Freedom class. Like again,
Yes.
like we've been saying, and I think that's what they're going to focus on the most. Transitioning back to the Project Discovery, that's what they're going to focus on the most is that connection with the ocean that you don't get on the Oasis,
Right.
and just the
Absolutely.
more traditional feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that'll be a nice change. Like I love these new mega ships, but
Mm-hmm.
it'll be a nice change of pace for sure.
Exactly. And it seems like the industry is trending towards liquefied natural gas, of course. That seems to be,
Mhm.
everybody's trying to go green, things like that. Do you think they will be natural gas?
I'm sure that's going to be in discussion, and I'm sure they would love to. The only problem I see with that is most of these
Accessibility.
home ports, right? They would have to, you know, build the infrastructure. I don't know what that entails. I'm not big
Mhm.
into that side, but they would have to build the infrastructure to accommodate that. Because I know Canaveral has it, and Miami. Does Miami have it, or do they?
I don't know if they have it. I mean, I guess they should have it with Icon, but I know with
Right,
Carnival they share the same bunker barge
right,
for
with
natural
Mardi
gas.
Gras, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, either way, they would have to build up the infrastructure in several home ports, which
Right.
wouldn't be a bad thing, especially if that's the way the industry is going to go in the
Hmm.
future. Um, but there would be a lot of extra work on top of it. So
Right.
you know, we'll see. They might come out with an announcement that the ship, like when they do make an announcement that it is going to be LNG, and there's a plan to, do it in these ports. So I guess it just depends.
Right, exactly. And with the the XL class, and I'm sure Icon's the same way, but they have the ability to go off of regular fuel as well.
Gotcha.
But I
I didn't
know,
know that.
yeah, because I know there's a couple of times where I think, yeah, in Canaveral, some of the times that Mardi Gras left late is because of fueling where they didn't have the natural gas or they something like that to where they had to use regular
Interesting.
diesel.
Interesting.
But piggybacking off of that, that is the reason why I'm not sure if they actually will go natural gas. I know that's the industry trend, and that's kind of the way to go right now. Again, it's cleaner, more efficient, fuel, all of that, but not everybody has it. Again, mostly
Right.
Florida ports. I think Barcelona has it, of course. That's just the big Mediterranean home port, pretty much, and Galveston. But that's the reason why, out of all the new, I guess, originally next gen, but now current generation ships, the Prima class is not natural gas for that reason, because they wanted those to be the same thing, a little smaller and more worldwide accessible ships to where they can go wherever they want to go.
Right.
The Prima would not be going all over the place the way it does if it was natural gas.
Maybe that'd be a good thing, because I don't know what their idea was with that.
They can't keep the Prima in one place for longer than like a month. It's the funniest thing.
For real. It's crazy.
But,
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the Prima class goes over to Asia or something like that. It'd be really cool to see, but you know, that's the reason, is natural gas just isn't accessible to everybody yet. And
Right.
of course, as the industry continues to adapt to that, we're only in the early stages of it. The first ship to ever get natural gas, I think, was the Aida Nova.
Okay.
I think, which was the true first XL class ship.
Right.
And that was Aida, and it really only does the Mediterranean because it's kind of just stuck there.
Yeah, but I think the first one in the U.S. was Mardi Gras, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still it's a new fuel source. I mean, not everybody's gonna have access to it right off the bat.
Right.
And
Exactly.
you know, that's not even to say, or like not to even discount like a different alternative fuel source as well. Like I know, you know, I don't know exactly if that's going to be the case. I doubt it, but I know some cruise lines are like have been experimenting with hydrogen fuel cells, things like that. And that's something that people are, you know, in the automotive industry, you know, companies right now, as of like the last couple of weeks, have been talking about. You know, we're gonna transition away from EVs and start going towards hydrogen fuel cell cars, because that's
I heard that somewhere.
even more efficient. Obviously, you know, all the BS with the backside of what happens with like electric vehicles and all that. That aside, I think people are realizing it's probably better overall if that's your goal, to be more efficient, cleaner, all of that. It seems like hydrogen fuel cells are kind of the next big thing when it comes to alternative fuels.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Will Project Discovery be powered off of hydrogen, you know, fuel cells? Probably not. But
Right. Probably not.
But they probably are going to have some sort of like new, the new sort of, you know, thing where, you know, whether it's sulfur scrubbers just to keep the diesel emissions cheaper or, you know, less, something along those lines. And Steve from Naughty Life says Honda has the hydrogen car, the Clarity. Exactly. He's like, that was the car I was exactly thinking of. Honda's been doing that for the last couple of years.
Gotcha. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. We need to get you on the podcast sometime.
Yes. Oh, we totally should. Steve, you're coming on the podcast. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, you're stuck with it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's definitely a couple different ways they could go about it, and I think Royal probably is going to end up revolutionizing, whether they intend to or not. They're going to revolutionize the industry with this ship, whether they realize it or not, or whether they try or not. Just
absolutely.
They tend to do that with every class of ship now. I mean, they did it with, you know, the original Game Changer was the Oasis of the Seas, and then, you know, on the Quantum class, it was a game changer. Those were the most technologically smart ships, or like they were considered the first smart ships.
Right. And
then, you know, they kind of implemented that into the new Oasis class ships and made them kind of the smart ships as well. And then now they've got all of that and more on the Icon class.
Right. And I think they're also going to change the industry in terms of going smaller, especially if they do it right, which I'm pretty sure they will. And they do something that's smaller, but still has that same kind of impact that maybe a bigger ship does. I think you're going to see, and NCL doesn't count because they messed it up, but I think you're going to see these other cruise lines kind of pull back a little bit. And I know some of these cruise lines don't have ships as big as Icon. I mean, no one does, obviously. Not even as big as the Oasis class.
Yeah, still nobody's
Carnival kind of got close with Mardi Gras and Celebration and Jubilee, but I think you're going to start to see some of these cruise lines pull back on the size of these ships. Because think about it, Carnival just finished. I know they have that new project that's going to be over 200, right? Or there's like a rumor about it.
208, yeah.
But Celebrity's just finishing up their Edge class with XL coming out. Holland America hasn't announced anything yet. Not that those ships are too big, but
Yeah.
And then you see NCL, even with their smaller class, each pair is getting bigger. So I think you're going to start to see ships, cruise lines follow that trend. Maybe not immediately because they're going to want to see how the Royal Caribbean ships do. But I think if they do well, which they probably will, I think you're going to start to see the cruise lines pull back on the size of these ships, except for Carnival.
Yeah, except I think Carnival right now with their next project, they're trying to play some catch up right now. So that's why they're going to go 200,000 tons, I think. And I think they finally want to try to go for the Oasis and the Oasis and the Icon. So I mean, in that sense, I get it. But I think with Norwegian, I don't know. I think Norwegian again, like their passengers, their crowd is the same demographic that's looking, with these higher tier Royal Caribbean passengers who were looking for these small ships.
Right.
And I think that's why so many people were looking forward to the Prima class as well.
Right. Absolutely. And unfortunately,
it's a great idea.
They just missed. I think they missed the ball on that one. They just didn't get it right.
Kind of. Yeah. They had a great idea and it just wasn't executed properly. I don't know why when you said they just did, I started thinking of what's from the Benchwarmers.
That movie's hilarious.
Oh God, I can't think of his name. He's like one of the best ones. Is the movie guy or the movie theater guy?
That works in the DVD store.
Yeah, but
I know who you're talking about.
Oh my God, he's like one of my favorite too. I hate that I'm blanking on it, but he's like I ticked it when he like swung and he like just tipped it with the bat. That's exactly what I was thinking of. That's NCL trying to go.
And then the catcher goes, "You're still out," and then he goes, "You're still fat." Classic.
Oh my God.
David
Spade.
Yeah.
How did I forget that? He's literally one of the best. But yeah,
he's hilarious.
But that was exactly what I was thinking of. Like that's NCL right now going, I ticked it, and then Royal Caribbean's probably going, you're still out.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious.
But yeah, I think NCL had a great idea with the Prima class, and I think I commend them a lot for doing it and taking that risk because that at the time that was not what the industry was doing. That's not at all what the industry was trying to do at that time. They were bigger, better, everything. Carnival was bringing out the XL class at that point, and they were starting to ramp those up, 180,000 ton ships, and then the Oasis class was still coming out, and they still are, and then the Icon class, like it. NCL tried to go the opposite direction, and I think they had the right idea.
Right.
They just didn't quite get it.
I think they had like a split.
I think Aqua would do pretty good. I think we'll be a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. I think they were thinking 50-50. They were thinking with the smaller ship, but still thinking of the bigger ships accommodations. And it just doesn't work out.
Right.
So don't do that, Royal Caribbean. I trust you.
And going off of one of the chats that I see here, Discovery class would be a great ship to build the 270 concepts like we have on the Quantum class. That would be cool. I absolutely think that's going to be one of the things they do, whether it's like a revamped Aquadome or 270. I think, again, going back to like my point earlier, that the connection with the ocean, the vantage points, lounges that allow you to see the ocean and just the scenic aspect of cruising, that's going to be their biggest thing.
Right. I think it'd be nice if they did something along the lines of like a combination of what Icon's got with that big window that looks out from the promenade and what the Radiance class has, like with the elevators. Maybe not like all the way up,
so
but like
cool. I wish they would do that.
Where it's somewhere where you can just sit and relax and just look out on the ocean and even maybe still be inside, and keep it lower to the ocean level. That way you're, like you said, with the connectivity to the ocean, you feel like you're right there.
Right. Again, that's Voyager and Freedom class. Like I love sitting out on deck 4 underneath the lifeboats. Whether I can sit there, I can see the ocean, I can, you know, the little overhangs, I can literally just see down the side of the ship, you know, just
I can
see
sit
the
there
ocean.
all day.
Yeah, exactly. And we've done that before on the Liberty
Yeah.
back in 2022.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we sat out there under the lifeboat for like an hour. Just,
It's
you know,
so nice.
it was a rocky day because Hurricane Nicole was forming up and everything like that. But
Yep.
it was nice. All we did was
Yes.
sit and listen to the ocean for a while. Like it was
Very
great.
nice.
So I hope they do that. I hope that's going to be coming back. At least some sort of like outdoor area down low.
Right.
I know that Norwegian and Carnival like the outdoor decks, like the, you know, the waterfront or the lanai, whatever you want to call it. Royal Caribbean's never done that on any of their ships.
That would be crazy if they did that.
I think Royal Caribbean probably take that to the next level.
Oh, 100%. They would make the ones that are out there now look
Yeah.
cavemanish.
Like, I think maybe it's just us being like Royal Caribbean fanboys here, just saying, oh, Royal Caribbean's going to do it much better than everybody else. But like, honestly, like that concept has been out for so long and it's something that they've never done. And there's so much potential behind that stuff now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine like the Royal Promenade having access points to a outside lanai like that. That would be crazy.
Exactly. Like
that'd be wild.
One of the best parts about, you know, as that concept has aged over the last decade is outdoor dining. That is one of the best things. You can go to the steakhouse on the Carnival Mardi Gras or the Celebration, Norwegian Joy. You can go out there on the Vista. Like you can have a nice fancy steak dinner outside on a very, you know, a calm, relaxing night out at sea. Like that's amazing. Right.
Yeah, there's just something about being outside on the ocean, hearing the waves or hearing the ship moving through the water. That's just very, very relaxing. At least for me. I mean, it like puts me in a trance. Like I can sit there all day just like.
It's a vibe.
It really is.
Just to kind of put it into, you know, goofy terms, it is a vibe.
Yeah.
It's just nice.
It is. And that's kind of the trend. So hopefully Royal Caribbean, like you said, they haven't done anything like that before. So hopefully, you know, they can incorporate that into a smaller ship and really, you know, do something cool with it.
Right, exactly. And I don't, you know, going back to Icon, I don't think we're not going to find nearly as much as like we see on the Icon class. Is there, you know, the Icon is basically known for industry firsts now, and you know some of the things that it's done. Do you think they're gonna do? Is there any like industry firsts or anything that you think they could do for this ship that's never been done before?
That is a good question because I didn't think they could do anything more from the Oasis class. Like obviously a few things here and there, but
right.
I just think their focus, because obviously they're not going to be able to fit all that crazy activity stuff on board because it's going to be smaller. So I think their focus is going to be, like you said, the connectivity to the ocean. So I think we're going to see a lot of spaces, like very unique spaces that have some kind of access, whether it's a 270 style panoramic, you know, windows or a lanai that faces out there. So I think that's going to be like hopefully a focus of the ship, but I just don't know what they could do that would really be like a game changer on a smaller ship. Like I don't even know what they could do if they went bigger than Icon. Like what else could they do?
That's kind of where we're at in the industry right now is like there's just no, what do you do after that? I know I said that after the Quantum class and the Oasis class, but like I mean apparently you could do more because now we have Icon, but like how do you follow that up? And I know they're not trying, like this project isn't to follow up the Icon. It's more to complement it and just kind of transition the industry a little bit more. And again, going back to, you know, Royal Caribbean keeps changing the industry. They revolutionize it. They're usually the front runners in the last, like, I would say 2 generations of ships. So everything from 2009 onwards, Royal Caribbean has pretty much been the front runner on any sort of change within the industry.
Right.
So I think like you mentioned, it's going to be probably smaller ships over the next couple of years. And, you know, Carnival's going to be the exception there, but I think Norwegian may try maybe a little bit different. I really don't know what Norwegian's going to do after this.
Right. And
Because they tried this. At this point, Norwegian's tried it. Didn't work.
Right. And I know we keep saying like the ships are going to be smaller over the next few years. So I think with Project Discovery, I think their main focus is getting it into some of these smaller ports or ports that have bridges. But I wouldn't be surprised if after they do the Discovery project, if they do something. And when we say smaller, I pretty much mean probably smaller than the Oasis. So they could do something between Freedom and Quantum, you know, and that would still be considered a smaller ship than like the direction they've been going. So I think, you know, don't panic. I just think this next class of ship is going to be smaller to accommodate some of these ports. And then I think they're going to stick in between Voyager, Freedom, Quantum class, you know, size range.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. This project here is aimed to replace the Vision and the Radiance class. Primarily the Vision, but eventually the Radiance is probably going to go with it.
Right.
Because right now the Voyager class, you know, despite being 20 plus years old, which is hard to believe because those ships are in great shape, but those ships all have been now redone recently. But as Project Discovery comes out, probably going to be over the span of 5 years or so. Probably, I would say Discovery 4, because like going back to earlier that we mentioned, it was probably going to be about 4 of them. Discovery 4 is probably going to be like a 2030 ship.
At least, yeah.
At earliest, a 2030.
Yeah, because like we said, they haven't announced anything yet. The only thing they've announced, I don't think they've announced anything. They kind of like hinted at it, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's public knowledge that they're looking at it. Nothing's ordered or anything like that. Even the CEO and I think even a few captains of a few ships are saying, yeah, it's something that we're working on right now. There's no orders been placed, but essentially it's a smaller ship and it's aimed to do this. It's aimed to replace these.
Right.
That's all we know.
Hey, for all we know, they might already have something planned out and schematics drawn up, and they just want to announce it. So we could be a lot closer than we think. But I'm just gonna lean towards they're in the very early stages of designing it. And like I said, they could be further along than that. But I just personally, I think they're in the pretty early stages. So it's gonna be a little bit till we hear anything pretty conclusive about it.
I think they did say that we hear something this year, whether it's a rendering, whether it's just an announcement that it's been ordered, or anything like that. But I don't think we're going to see any of these ships until at least 2027 at the earliest at this point. Because like you have to place orders, and everybody's ordering ships right now. The industry is booming. To say as an understatement, the industry is booming right now.
Yeah, and exactly.
With the launch of Wonder, Utopia, Icon, Star, Mardi Gras, Celebration, like these are all back to back ships coming out. You know, some of these multiple times a year. These shipyards are backed up. We have Star, and my guess is going to be Idol of the Seas. I love that name for some reason. I think Icon 3 is going to be Idol. But
yeah.
So for this person, Star and Idol, you know, Carnival's got this new project coming out from Fincantieri. Like they got probably 4, I think, and the 5th one's going to be a Costa ship from what it sounds like. You know,
and Princess has the new ships coming out.
Princess has new ships coming out. And, you know, Fincantieri has the Prima class, so, like, those are all booked out through 2025. MSC has, I think they're only working on the World Europa class now, which now they have the America that's being built right now, but they just ordered 2 more of those. Like, there's, like, 30 ships on order right now, and that's not including the Discovery, so.
Yeah, it's crazy right now.
So, probably.
I love it.
At the absolute earliest we can see one of these things is probably 2027, late 2027.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, like 4th quarter, 2027. So it's going to be a while. Hopefully we'll hear something this year that kind of gives, at least, I don't even know, at least like you said, if they ordered it or some kind of details about it. But I'm hoping at least by the end of the year, which is good because it's only February. But I'm hoping by the end of the year, we'll hear something more concrete about it.
Right, exactly. Well, I think they have said that they're gonna say something about it later this year, or they're gonna talk a little bit more about it and just give us a little bit more information about it. So maybe I mean, maybe with that context that they're saying, like maybe they have ordered this project already.
Maybe, or maybe they're about to, and they have all like their ideas done, and they know what they're gonna do. So
Yeah.
who knows?
I get NDAs are a thing. Like they probably have some of the whatever
Right.
shipyard it is. Like they probably have them under heavy NDAs.
I'm sure.
Saying, they project Icon project was we knew nothing about it until it was ordered. I mean, they said, oh yeah, we ordered this project, and that was nothing up until 2022.
Right.
So, and it takes forever to design a ship. It really does. I mean,
yeah.
Again, Icon was ordered at the end of 2016. Or yeah, it was
That's
ordered at the end of
crazy.
2016, and so now at the beginning of 2024, it's almost 6 to 7 years, 8 years, whatever math is that is, but
Right.
but
The
like
good news is the ships are going to be smaller, so hopefully
they can pump them out
once it
faster.
is ordered, right? Exactly. Hopefully
Yeah.
it doesn't take as long, because I mean they built. Obviously we don't know where the ship's going to be built, but they built Breakaway in like
18
record
months.
time. Yeah, and that ship is
18 months.
huge.
Speaking of Breakaway and how quickly they built it, I can guarantee, maybe not guarantee it, but my best guess is that these ships are going to be built by Meyer Werft, Papenburg.
It would be ideal. It would
They
be
built-
easy to fit in the building, and it'd be easy to squeeze it down the river.
Right. They built the Radiance class, and they also built the Quantum class. The Quantum class is
yeah.
probably one of their better ships. They also built the Breakaway Plus class, which are some of the best ships out there. Like Meyer Papenburg builds phenomenal ships. They build some of the best ships in the industry. Steve says
They do.
ship orders are public notice, so nothing ordered yet. Okay. So
Right,
that makes more sense.
may-
Honestly, it makes more
maybe
sense.
they're-
That was me just kind of getting ahead of myself there. But
Right.
I mean, NDAs are a thing, but I'm sure if they've ordered something, somebody would have said something by now. But
So maybe they're at the point where they're just waiting to order it.
Design phase.
Right.
they got to
maybe
have an
they're just
idea what
finishing
it's
up the
even
design.
going to look like. Yeah, they got to know what it's
Right.
going to look like. They got to have like again, they've told us it's smaller, but they don't know how much smaller, how big is it going to be. Like they got to
It's very
plan
easy
first.
to say it. You're right.
Right. They can't just say, "Hey, I've got an idea for a 110,000 ton ship. Like I'd like to place an order for it. We'll tell you what it looks like later." Like that, it just doesn't work like that.
Right. Exactly.
But I can almost guarantee that I think Meyer Papenburg is going to be one of probably the preferred shipbuilder for this class.
Right.
They they've done very good work for Royal Caribbean in the past, and I don't think that they have too many orders coming up. Nothing big, at least. They have the Treasure and
That's pretty close though. That's
Disney 3 or the Triton 3 from Disney. So,
Yeah.
and then
You could build like a ship and a half at the same time. So
exactly. Yeah, you can literally build a ship and a half. So they could probably have these pumped out probably same year, honestly. Like you
Right.
can have it set up to where they take delivery like in February or March of like 2027, and they could still have, a November or December delivery of the second one. Like that's how efficient that shipyard is, despite its
Yeah,
size.
And speaking of that shipyard, it's a little off topic. I just saw the other day, I don't know what ship was being built, but they were building the ship, but they were also building the actual building, like around it that the ships are built in now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like the steel structure of it. It looks so cool.
Really? Oh, they're making
Yeah.
a bigger building like over it now, or?
No. Like it was like the building that the ships. This was like a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
But it was like the building that they're built in now.
Oh.
They were like building that as they were building like a cruise ship in it. So like they were building the cruise ship and then building the building around it like at the same time.
Oh,
It
that's
was It
crazy.
was such a cool let me see if I can find it. It was such a cool picture.
Yeah, that seems really cool. Again, that's one of my favorite shipyards, just to like see how because they do it so differently there too.
Right. And it's cool to see a cruise ship coming out of a building like that.
Exactly. No other shipyard does it. Well, I mean, I think there's that one in Germany where the Disney Adventure is being built, which I guess now is owned by Meyer because of that company going under.
Right.
So I think Meyer now owns that because I think they are taking over the construction and the reconstruction of the Global Dream and now Disney Adventure. But
Cool.
no other shipyard does it like that, and they build them in the mega blocks. They float out the mega blocks. Then they bring in the other ones, even weld it all together, all into one piece.
Yeah.
They pull it out, and they don't really touch water like as the full ship. They don't touch water and truly float out until the very end.
Right.
Like most shipyards, like it's probably like Icon floated out. What was it, like early last year, mid last year, maybe July?
Yeah, something like that.
Off
Yeah.
the top of my head, I don't know exactly, but like those ships didn't float out until probably 6, 7, 8 months before delivery. Those ships are being floated out for the very first time as like a full thing,
Mhm.
like a month or two before, or like 2-ish months before delivery.
Yeah, they do very, very final touches once that ship comes out of there. Like I think
Yeah.
who was like the not
Jubilee.
Jubilee. Jubilee, like she got her funnel attached
Mhm.
after she came out. And I think the quantum class and the breakaway class like ships were the same way.
Mhm.
But like other than that, they're like you said, they're pretty much complete at that point.
They pull them up they usually sit out, they get floated out, they usually sit outside for about a month for the final touches, exterior wise and just on the inside,
Right.
of course. But then they get pulled up the river, and as soon as they go up the river, like they go for sea trials, and once they pass the sea trials, they're done.
Right. And they basically deliver the ship after
Like
that.
I know there's a lot more, that's like essentially what happens. I know there's a lot more that's going on with it in that aspect, and like while all that's going on,
Right.
but that's essentially what happens is it gets floated out for the first time, sits outside for a month while they do the final touches, pull it up, send it to sea trials, they're done.
Right.
No other shipyard does it like that. Even Meyer and Turku, they don't do it like that. The builders for Icon, same
It's
company.
very unique.
They're very cool shipbuilder. I love seeing how they do
Yeah.
things. They do very good work too.
Mhm.
But I guess as we kind of like start wrapping it up, and I know we mentioned it here at the beginning, but over or under, like what's your tonnage expectations out of this?
I'm just gonna go 100 to 115,000. I think that's kind of the sweet spot for this because you can do a lot with the ship that size, and you can also design it to where it can fit into certain ports like a Tampa with a bridge or a Baltimore with a bridge. So I'm gonna say between 100 and 115.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. Probably about 110 to 120, 120 at the most, and then kind of see where they're going from there. But I don't know exact. I know they're trying to do with the other home ports and things like that. I don't know if they're gonna do it in Tampa, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to do it just because I know they're expected to be a certain size still.
Right.
I some of the ports are too small. I know they want to stick with Tampa, but I don't know if it's gonna be something they can still pull it off. I would love to see
Right.
it. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see it, but it's so tight there. I don't know.
Yeah, and just like the channel that goes from the port. Well, just the port itself is pretty narrow too, like the turning basin in there.
Right.
But just like the path out to the bridge, it's very snaky. Like it's not like a straight shot. Like to do a lot
Right.
of turns and stuff. So it is a very unique port to put a somewhat large ship in. So it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Right, exactly. And I think just off topic here for the last little bit, but speaking of a larger ship in there, I think with the Carnival Freedom, when it had the top of it chopped off, I think it technically could have fit in Tampa. So like that dimension, that size can work.
Right.
If they,
And that's a decent sized ship,
that's 110.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can, in Virgin Voyages is prime example, but you can do a lot with 110, 120,000 tons now.
Yep. So it's exciting.
It is very exciting. Very exciting to see like what they're going to do, what we're going to learn, everything like that. Again, everything we've talked about tonight is just pure speculation, just chatting about it. The only thing that we know right now is that it's going to be smaller, and it's aimed to replace probably the Vision and eventually the Radiance class as well. So
Exactly.
it's going to be a very interesting year to see what they do. And I think once the hype behind the Icon kind of dies down, maybe in that little lull between Icon and Utopia, maybe we'll get something sprinkled in there, or maybe at the end of the year after Utopia is out, maybe we'll hear something then. It'll be very interesting. They're definitely waiting to ride out the hype before. And of course, I mean, you're not going to announce a brand new ship when you're 3 sailings in on
Right.
the newest one. I mean, especially Icon.
Exactly.
You're not going to kill the marketing for that. So,
Right. Yeah, that marketing is still going strong
oh, it's going to be going strong for a long time.
for a long even, even when
Yeah.
Star comes out, it'll still be Icon,
Exactly. But anyways, it's been a very fun podcast this week. Thanks again for joining, as always, Justin.
Anytime.
Everybody that was listening to this live, thank you for hanging out, chatting with us, and anybody listening on other platforms to this point, of course, wherever you may be. Thank you all for listening to this point, and we hope to see you guys next week. I think we're going to be aiming for a Harbor Pilots specific episode next week, so I'm very excited for that one.
Yes, that's going to be a good one.
Followed by a podcast from Icon of the Seas. So we got a couple really good podcasts lined up for you the next couple weeks. But thank you again for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, Steve.
Just Steve.
Yeah, just Steve.